Hello, and welcome to the How Long to Beat podcast in this a new year and also a new century because we've just hit 100, baby. I mean,
Shit.
if we count the pluses, it's a little bit more than that. As always, I'm Rick, joined by the voice of Alex that you just heard. I'm
Hello.
also joined by Paula.
Hello.
And oh boy, have we been busy over the holidays. We have lots of completions, a few retirements, and a smattering of currently played games. We're also going to take this opportunity just to look back on 100 episodes and think about the high points and just the high points, because I don't think there've really been many or any lows.
You've had lows,
It-
yeah.
Premier
lost
experience over the
recordings.
past couple of years.
That might be our lows.
Oh yeah.
Why would you bring that back up? The irony is that's probably one of my favorite things we did in the whole. Anyway, we'll get to that.
We'll talk
get
about
to
that.
that.
Yeah.
We certainly will, and we'll also get to just at the back end of this episode what I think might actually now be. Oh no, it's not. We've played a couple of game weeks. Anyway, the latest installment of this round of the new version of How Long to Beat the Game.
I can beat. I completely
was that
forget
bad?
about it.
That
That
I
was
looking at the
so
wall.
bad on this one. That was pretty great.
Oh lordy! Oh, we're a little bit out of practice. Right, let's peel off the band-aid. Paula, what did you think of Pokemon Scarlet?
So, actually, this is not a bad game. I was going in expecting fully to just be able to roast it for all the bugs and stuff. And also, I got this as a Christmas present, so I was obligated to play it and see it to the end.
Mhm.
And I actually have a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, shocking, especially after the Sword Until event of,
Yeah,
I
I don't
think,
know
a
about
couple
Alex.
of years ago.
I was ready for a big old rant, and I feel a little bit deflated. This is a little bit anticlimactic,
Well,
but in a good way.
Yeah, what I've been hearing though about the game is that the game is fun. It's just that the crunch and the technical problems with it really like bring down the enjoyment of the experience. Do you know what I mean? Like being able Tamahiro, who does like a bunch of Pokemon stuff, did a good video on this actually that I liked. She's really good if people enjoy Pokemon. She makes good videos. Anyway, continue, Paula.
So the game has like kind of like 3 routes that all converge into like one big finale. And I'm not gonna talk about like I'm gonna try not to go like too deep into each one because spoilers, and people will like to experience like everything fresh for this particular game. But you have advertised the Path of the Titans route where you battle like huge Pokemon because story reasons. And then you have the Team Star route where you have to take down Team Star. And again, there's like some story reasons behind the creation of this team and like how they're organized and why they're organized that way. And then you have the usual go beat all 8 team leaders and become the champion, or champion rank trainer, as I say. Because there's like one champion that is like La Primera, which is the best champion rank trainer out there, and the one like in charge of the Pokemon League and administration and shit like that. But then you have like all the champion rank trainers that have beaten all the team leaders, beaten the Elite Four, and had a battle with La Primera. So that's more or less the gist of the story. And I have to say, my favorite part of it was the Path of the Titans and the grand finale. I think that was especially well done for Pokemon, for the and Game Freak. And there were like many moments where they actually did tug at my heartstrings and had me feel something for once in a Pokemon game, which was kind of refreshing. And oh boy, that was. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but that was the good shit. Like the Team Star, they tried, but it's not like the focal point of the story. The gym stuff was like just run of the mill Pokemon stuff. So yeah, The one thing that I wasn't like very keen on were the new Pokemon designs. My team was formed by the grass starter evolution Meowscarada, plus 5 Pokemon that weren't from this game, because the Pokemon from this game like didn't really move the needle for me design wise, and sometimes I just couldn't like. There were many Pokemon that I already liked that also did the job better for my team, and as a composition, like they fit better for what I was trying to go for. Um, come on, there's one mouse Pokemon that there were like 2 little mouse, and the evolution like literally is called Mouse Hold or something like that, and they just added 2 baby mice to the mix, and it's like, that's a Pokemon. Like, come on, we already went through Diglett being one Diglett thingy and Dugtrio being a tree of Diglets pretty much. We don't have to go through this again. We're already being here before.
We've already jumped the shark at this point with Pokemon designs, though, right? Like that's not a surprise to anybody listening to this podcast.
But the ones on Thorn and Shield were actually pretty good. Like the game was shit, but the Pokemon designs were pretty fun. Like Wooloo, the sheep Pokemon. That was like my favorite design out of the whole generation, plus the Galarian Ponyta. They were absolutely adorable. And I just didn't get that in my new Pokemon game. The one other thing that they added, like that the gimmick for the generation is, and I'm gonna butcher this, terrestrialization, I think. Yeah, terrestrialization.
Okay, yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Beats me.
And the thing is that there's this phenomenon where you use like this kind of like terrestrial capsule ball thingy to make your Pokemon like change type, and they get like this crystal-like design with a crown that represents the type of the new type of the Pokemon. And the thing is that the type they change into doesn't have to be the type they had before. Like you usually find Pokemon that can only terrestrialize in the one or two types they have. Like my Meowscarada can terrestrialize into the grass type, and it is a grass dark type. But I found an Hydreigon that is dark and dragon, and it can terrestrialize into a poison type. So that way you can take advantage of the new type defensively, as for example, Hydreigon could usually be quadruple quick to Fairy, but it can actually resist Fairy with the new poison type. Or if you want to go into a more offensive strategy, all Pokemon can learn a move called Terra Blast, where it will take the highest stat between special attack and attack, and it will apply the new their new Terrastal type to the move itself. So, for example, I have a Rock that is usually a rock type, but I could terrestrialize it into a water type and attack with a water type move instead, a physical water type move, because its highest attack is physical attack. So I can see a lot of potential in terms of the competitive scene. It definitely changes things up quite a bit. And let's see if I get into the competitive scene, because holy crap, I think last generation with Gigantamax, there was already like a lot of more complexity added to it. But I think like since all Pokemon can terrestrialize, and I don't know if they can terrestrialize to any type or they have assigned types to terrestrialize to. You will see a Pokemon and you will have no idea if it will be the type that it is right now or if it will change and kick your ass. So yeah, that's more or less. Oh, and you have the box legendary Pokemon from the start, and you can give it like more mobility options with the Path of Legends route, which it is very welcome because I don't have to have HM slaves anymore. The only thing that I find kind of stupid is that you cannot use your TMs indefinitely, though they try to patch it up with you being able to battle Pokemon and getting like items from them when you beat them, like in other RPGs, and you use those items to craft TMs. So that's it for Pokemon Scarlet. I want to actually complete the Pokédex of this region, so you may hear more about it next week. And the other thing is that I still have the postgame to go through, which they did a very good justification for you to battle the gyms again, but at a higher level. And there's still like a part of the map that I haven't been able to explore. And I don't know if that's gonna be like future DLC or if it's actual post game. I'm gonna incline to this is future DLC because I don't think Pokemon is the Pokemon Company or Game Freak are generous enough to give us like a huge, chunky post game to go through. And they like
they're
money.
ready for that. Yeah,
there
they're
you-
like, come on, we're not releasing 3 games anymore. We're releasing season passes.
Yeah, very much. Though I have to say, I didn't find as many bugs and glitches as other people did. I did have some slowdown in some areas, and I did have one fun thing that happened is that when I was trying to catch a flying type Pokemon or a Pokemon that floats, like their model floats, the Pokemon will just stay floating instead of falling to the ground. And the other one was, well, clipping or like visual clipping. But it happened less and less as I went through the game. And the wall did weird shit whenever I was like at the very peak of a rock or mountain. But other than that, I didn't have like the enlarged sprites or like very like almost what's the word for it? Seizure inducing events that I saw other people running into.
Got the same issues as others, yeah.
Yeah. Or like the Pokemon getting like a recoloring for some reason that I saw someone say this Pokemon now has like all the colors of my party because something happened and I don't know what. So after seeing all the nightmares on the internet and on Twitter, I feel like my run was pretty blessed in comparison. But well, that's gonna go like from vary from one person to another. I hate that this game released with so many bugs and glitches because otherwise it will probably be the best Pokemon game that has released in a while.
I mean, that's where it comes down to like the main issue, right, with the series at this point. It's just that it's like we don't hear as much reporting on it, but like the horrifying amount of crunch has to be happening, right? Like there's no fucking way this game is coming out without like some, and again, it's just because Japan is so tight knit, right? Like they're very unlike, I find, you know, in the West at least, there's just a lot more reporting on you know, game companies and what. There seems to be like, you know, there's more of this culture of like talking with the reporters and whatnot. But I mean, if anything we know about Japan, the amount of like company loyalty that exists and like closed in nature of a lot of those jobs, I just feel like we're not hearing as much. But like, fuck, it's a shame because like what you said, the game is clearly like much better than the games that have released recently. and yet
Yeah.
it just has that pall over it. It's a little bit like playing Cyberpunk, honestly, right? Where you're like, that game was great once it was all
Yeah.
fixed up and shit. You're like, oh, it's a great game. It's just too bad there's appalling human rights abuses that happen to make it exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well. With that out of the way, and the rant that didn't happen, I'm gonna go with A Castle Full of Cats. That was like the first game I finished after a long hiatus from completing games.
Nice.
It's like a house full of cats. You have to go into this castle and just click into the kittens that you find in the screen, and they go from being like ghosts, vampires, and other supernatural beings cats to just regular cats. And the story is like that evil human cursed the castle and all the cats within it, and they transform into these little monsters, and you have to go. I forgot the name of the protagonist, but you are supposed to play as a calico lady cat, whose name I forgot, and you are trying to save Fofinho, which is a cat from the last game, which has been cursed along all these other cats, and you have to find a certain number of cats in each room to unlock the next room. And this actually has a final battle where you have to find the 4 cats on the screen to be able to like make a dent on the enemy's armor and try to lift the curse. And you have a limited time to do so. So you have to, and if you don't, it will heal back like 1 point. So you have to inflict like 5 points of damage with the enemy not restoring its health, hopefully. And in that way, you lift the curse and save all the cats. I wasn't expecting the story. It's like a very light story. It doesn't have like any more dialogue than that. It's just flavor text to make you feel like you're in this grand adventure, which it kind of is. It was pretty cute. So if you like these kind of games of finding stuff in the background, go play Castle Full of Cats. I got it like for $1 or less on sale, so it was totally worth it. Another game that I got as a gift, and I already finished this morning, was Assemble with Care. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
And this
I'm
one
so
is
glad
a
to see you
very
playing this
genuine. Yeah, this is a genuine thank you, Rick. Not like in other times.
Not like E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Thanks, Rick.
Yep. And in this game, you play as Maria, which is who is a repairs woman, and she's kind of like traveling all over the place and fixing things to make a living. And in this case, she gets into this town, which name I forgot. Thank you, memory. Thank you, brain. And you have to like manually assemble and disassemble stuff and fix stuff to make it all better. It has a story, and it is a character-driven one, where the first person you run into is a kid who is the mayor's daughter. And then you have like a storyline between her and her father. And then you have the other storyline, which is a restaurant owner with her sister. And I think the story is very well done. The gameplay definitely serves the story. So the story is first, the gameplay is secondary. Not to say the gameplay is bad, but the gameplay is very satisfactory in a weird sense. Like, you are physically like moving stuff, or like disassembling or assembling stuff. Just like in Potion Craft, where you have to manually like move and grind your ingredients and stuff like that. the game is very charming, and I feel the story was very heartwarming in a sense. And the final puzzle that you get in the post game is probably the most challenging one of the whole game. But it was very worth it because it was from the point of view of another character who is like, "Oh, I saw you fix all these things before, so I'm gonna give it a try." And she did her best. That's all I'm gonna say. So again, thank you, Rick. I had a lot of fun with this one.
Easy recommend to anyone listening. It is a charming sort of couple of hours. Did you play it on PC? I think you did.
Yeah, I did play it on PC.
You can tell it's designed for mobile, but the PC port is absolutely solid. So wherever you can play it, for sure.
Definitely. So why don't you jump into it, Rick?
Yeah, why not?
What do you think about
We're like,
Mario
who's it
Rabbids
gonna
Kingdom
be?
Battle?
Yeah. Which one of these do I go with first? I've got like 5 completions. The first one is probably the simplest because my ending takeaway was the same as my takeaway the whole way through, which is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle is fucking brilliant. Like, it's just a really, really excellent take on the modern Firaxis XCOM formula with Rabbids and Mario, and a great degree of streamlining and tweaking that absolutely has no right to be the 10 out of 10 game that I truly believe it is. I have to say as well, over Christmas, I played the whole co-op campaign with my little brother as well. Now, to call it a campaign is a bit of a stretch. It's just a list of levels. But there is something interesting about playing this game with 4 characters total, but also not having direct control of 2 of them, because it makes you talk about your strategizing in a very different way. And I actually really enjoyed that component of it. I thought probably wasn't the best idea just to bum rush them all at the end like I did. Would have been smarter maybe to try and pace them out had that option be still more readily available. But it's so cool that they throw that extra content in there. There's also like 4 ultimate levels. I did one of them. I spent 2 hours bashing my head at it until I could finish it. I'm not inclined to try the other 3 yet, but the plan is, give it a few months, let it all simmer, come back to it, play those levels, and then also play the Donkey Kong DLC. But the base game is phenomenal. Like, it's really such a good surprise because I didn't expect it to be of the quality that it was. Now, going from a soaring high on the Switch to a real disappointing low,
No.
this next game's a little bit of a hidden one. It's called Like No Other, The Legend of the Twin Books. What are the Twin Books? What is the legend? I don't know. The game doesn't fucking tell you. It's
Jesus.
baffling. It's baffling that this got released in the state that it is. And it's not even that it's necessarily buggy. It's just that they want £15 for 45 minutes of tepid half puzzling. If there was a strong story, I think I'd be a lot more forgiving because I was expecting there to be a strong story. Their big thing is like, on the sort of store page, we want to make family-friendly games and story-focused stuff that everyone can sit around the Switch and enjoy. No one can sit around and enjoy this alone or with friends because there's nothing to enjoy. You pick up. I'm going to spoil the story to the extent that there is one.
Oh no!
You pick up. Cover your ears. You pick up as an old man who's off searching for some treasure. Doesn't tell you it's a book, but it's a good job you read the title because that's what he's looking for. So he goes to this abandoned town. Why is it abandoned? We don't know. There's one sassy woman stood outside the building that's relevant. You go to that building. You explore that building. It's pitched as a puzzle, but it's not a puzzle. You're just exploring the building. And then you find a note that says, oh no, the thing I'm looking for is in this museum. It was there the whole time. And then you go to the museum, you enter the museum, you solve 1.5 tepid semi-puzzles. There's a guy there who's just like zoned out reading a book and he's like, the thing you'll find's in the back. So, a legendary hidden book. And then you pick up the book, you do this Indiana Jones thing where you like swap the book with something similar size and shape. And then you leave. And that's the game.
Okay.
Oh, it was so bad. And I bought it on sale, but I was so insulted that I even paid £5 for it. I went in with like reasonable expectations and they were just dashed from start to finish. Awful game. Contender for like the worst game that I've played this year. And it's not even, partway through January. avoid like the plague is my pitch on that. Speaking of pitches, this next one is an interesting one in that I downloaded it on a whim for Vita. It's like a homebrew port. The game is called Hyper Princess Pitch. I didn't realize when I started it, but it's very much a Christmas-themed game. You're a princess who didn't get what she wanted from Santa, and you have now gone on a Smash TV-esque rampage to kill Santa as revenge for him not getting the present you wanted. It's fine. Inoffensive. Beat it first try, 15, 20 minutes in. It's a fun enough Smash TV I like. Would I recommend going out of your way to play it? Not necessarily. But, something to play on your Vita, which is always a good thing. Went back to Switch for completion 4 or 5. This is F.I.S.T, forged in Shadow Torch. And it left me with a bit of an interesting dilemma in terms of the Metroidvania I like. Because it's a Metroid of 8.5. Like, I feel that I can just about recommend people play it, even above and beyond some of the sort of best of the genre. And that's not because it's necessarily one of the best of the genre, but I think it does enough unique things to stand out as its own game. Now, I should preface this. This is an Unreal Engine 4 game that really, really got trimmed to fit on the Switch, which is where I played it. And in normal gameplay, the concessions they made are absolutely fine. Like, it runs at a smooth frame rate. I didn't feel like I was ever particularly hamstrung. But anytime you go into an in-engine cutscene, you can see the sort of dithering effect that they've used to hide how much texture cutting they've had to do to make this thing work. I think that's a fair trade-off. I definitely enjoyed playing it portably. This is a game that was given away over Christmas by Epic. And I think if you don't mind playing this kind of game at a computer, you're going to have a much prettier experience. And I think that's important because they've put a lot of effort into the world. They describe it as diesel punk. It's an interesting fusion of sort of gears and pistons and moving parts, furry shit for some reason, and sort of Asian influences, sort of like a slightly retrograde version of the world that Blade Runner inhabits. There's lots of neon, beautiful sort of vistas into the background, a surprising variety of scenery as well, as you go through the story and you visit various locales. The platforming, great, really good. Maybe a little bit bare bones, but really good. The combat starts bad, but gets a lot better once you unlock a few upgrades. Good length, good map. Lots of variety in unexpected places, lots of charm. I don't think I've ever felt this engaged by a rabbit fighting a hare because he's sad about the death of his cat friend. It's a whole thing. It was a roller coaster, and I was happy to be there. And I think that speaks volumes as to the quality of what they've done here. Because again, shouldn't really work. Bit of an oddball concept. They're all fighting over a MacGuffin called the Spark. And, there was this ancient beast war, and there's a lot going on, but it kind of does enough to hold itself together. Metroidvania 8.5, I think, is probably about as succinct as I can put it. I had a really good time with this one. And it is a recommendation if that stuff sounds cool to you. And I think particularly if you're someone that likes combat in your Metroidvania more than the platforming, because it's not to say the platforming is bad. The platforming is actually quite good, but I think that's the area that it's most obviously weaker than some of its better contemporaries and some of its better sort of other games within that genre. I've worded that sentence awfully, but I think that's the point at which the comparison is the least favorable. But as an overall package, this is really, really good. And then lastly, I played a game I honestly never thought I'd end up playing, Ratchet and Clank All for One, the PS3 sort of co-op Ratchet and Clank spin-off. This game's a good 5 hours longer than it needed to be. It's very, very stretched out. It's, in many respects, sort of dumbed down to be a co-op game. But it kind of has its own qualities. I think it's tricky to judge this as a Ratchet and Clank game in its own right. Like, everyone has a wrench to throw. There are some wacky guns. Mr. Zircon comes back. There's enough staples to make it kind of make sense. But in a lot of ways, this plays so very differently from anything Ratchet and Clank. The biggest departure, and it was probably a strength and a weakness, The game is centered around target prioritization. So when you and a co-op partner, there are 2 of us playing, but you can have up to 4, are targeting the same enemy, the reticle grows, and once it grows to a certain point, you get an extra effect. So if it's the weapon that fires storm clouds out that fire out and do sort of damage over time, there'll be a big old thunderclap when you get that meter to fill. When it's the basic combustor, it will just do like an extra chunk of damage. If it's the bomb thrower, it will do an extra big explosion, and so on and so forth. Great concept. The aiming isn't good because your right stick is a permanent weapon wheel. That weapon wheel is not well handled either because it's all over sort of 3 tabs, and sometimes, depending on whether you're both doing it at the same time or not, sometimes it'll pause the action, sometimes it won't. It can be very, very difficult to get the right weapon you want with the degree of immediacy that is sometimes necessary. It is also somewhat unfortunate that the quick select on the D-pad is very hard to make work. And it didn't seem like there's a way in the options to just say what each one was. You had to sort of do this like hand dance of trying to hold the D-pad down and select the right bit on the weapon wheel, but then that swaps around if you switch to that weapon. I ended up not using it because it was so frustrating and inconsistent and unreliable, which is exactly the opposite of what a quick select should be. Nevertheless, there is some quality in the game. It shines through. You can play it single player. I imagine it'd be a miserable experience single player. I had quite a good time playing with it. I think that's only because of the co-op component. I ended up sort of landing on a 6 out of 10 for this one, and I think that's because I didn't want to let the fun of playing a game with a friend sort of bump the game up any higher than it really deserved to be. And again, I feel like I'd had my fill maybe just over halfway through the game. It doesn't quite do enough new over that length of time to justify itself. I always think, as a comparison, It Takes Two, constant new ideas, always something fresh. And that game, if anything, felt like it ended a little bit too quickly at the end. This didn't really have that. Like I say, if anything, it was the opposite. And also, it's stranded on the PS3, so unless you have one of those lying around, can't really recommend going back to it. So yeah, I mean that's all 5 of my games. Do you guys have anything you want to add on any of those?
No, I mean I'm excited to play the new Mario and Rabbids at some point once it goes on sale.
Already has.
Thank
It's already
you.
like 40% off in the UK. I've seen the
Yeah.
physical go from £30 down from 50.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to
I'm
get
in no
even lower.
rush. I paid a tenner including DLC for Kingdom Battle.
Exactly.
I'm looking at Front Mission and Disgaea and Tactics Ogre Reborn all sat on my desk, all waiting to be played. I can't buy another Rabbids game yet.
Oh,
I just
yeah,
can't
exactly.
do it. So yeah.
No, I mean that's totally
now
fair.
Yeah, there's no way. Right, enough of me complaining about my backlog. Alex, you've got 2 completions, and I'm excited to hear about them both.
Yeah, I got 2 very fun ones. I'll start sort of backwards maybe because I think you played Severed Steel, right?
I did not too long ago, and it is
Yes.
interesting to see you play that. I wanted to prompt it, but I didn't necessarily want to sort of mess up your flow.
That's why I did play that one because I was like, oh, I remember he mentioned this, and it was a freebie in Epic, and so
Free
I
on
was
the
like,
Epic.
yeah, I remember that you liked it. And I was like, oh, I want to try it out, and it's really fucking good. Like it's just it's a very good game. Though I'm gonna say this right now, not a good game to play high. Like straight up, one night I was playing and I was waiting to see when it would kick in, and then at one point I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Your poor brain. That is not the combo.
I was so confused. Because for those who like don't quite know what this game's all about, like it's essentially, I don't know, like it's kind of Neon Whitey-ish in terms of the fact that it's all about speed, but it's completely different because it's open-ended. So actually, you know what? Maybe that's a good way of looking at it. It's like where Neon White is about finding an optimal route through something. This one is all about like making your own optimal route through something. Because you get this fucking cannon that blows holes through walls. And it's all about just like it's like I don't know, it's like playing like a John Woo movie. You're just like supposed to be jumping and going because when you jump through the air, you can't get hit basically. You're like invulnerable as long as you're doing some kind of stunt, and then you could slow time down while you're doing it, which you need to do. Now I think the times, so like I'm sure I'm sure there's like this, like a meta or like whatever of like people who actually speedrun it where it's like, because I think your time still like clicks up when you go in slow-mo. So I'm sure there's like an emphasis of like, use slow-mo if you need to, but like if you want to get really good, you just have to be like expert at just going around without doing slow-mo and stuff. But to be real with y'all, I did not play this on a high difficulty. I think I played it on its easiest difficulty, maybe the second easy. I don't know. I was like, I'm not interested in having a really challenging time. I just want to go wee and shoot things, and that was super fun doing that. It's really good. It's quite short. I beat it in a few hours, like maybe 3 sittings, I think.
Same.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And if you got this in the Epic like freebie, this is one that, and that's actually one of the reasons why I played it, because I was like, oh, it's really fast. So I'm like, okay, let's like pound this one out. And I'm really glad I did. It's probably like a solid 9 out of 10 for me. There are like a few little things that sort of like bothered me a little bit, just in terms of some of the like at times it's almost too frenetic at a few points in terms of like when I'm doing my stunts and stuff. Like sometimes I feel like I am jumping, or I am like, I am leaping, or I'm sliding, and yet I'm still getting shot. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So I'm sure it was a me problem, but again, sometimes it's not always super clear. But overall, hell of a good game. Paula, this would make you fucking vomit everywhere. This is like, if anyone has even the slightest bit of motion sickness, worst game for you to play. This is like a crazy game. Mirror's Edge on
microdose Neon
Coke.
Might instead. Yeah. Mirror's Edge on Coke. I think it probably speaks to, I think what you mentioned there about like I just want to blast out. I think that's probably ironic, but also the biggest difference between this and Neon White. Neon White does make you care about the time.
Yeah.
Whereas it's almost more the flow state and the moment to moment in Severed Steel. And Neon White's definitely a better game, but it's not that much in it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because this this game is more about that flow state. I think like Neon White also puts you into it, but it is more about like it's just quicker bursts. Whereas this one is like the music was great. Like you're like, yeah, like you're pounding through and going. It's like, it's, you know what? It's kind of John Wick-ish. Like it feels like it has that inspiration, right? Like those nightclub scenes of John Wick with the music going through, like that sort of. There's like a new genre of like The Matrix was one thing that inspired games for a long time, and now it's more like moving into like the action of kind of the John Wick movies. This really quick propelled action of like taking people down and going through stuff in these kind of calculated ways, which is a trend that I love. I'm happy if more games keep doing this because it's very fun. It's like Pistol Whip, the VR game. It's the same thing. Like this game is actually really similar to that in a lot of ways. But
do you know what it actually is? Pistol Whip's great.
It's fantastic. I want to go play some after this. Actually, I love that game. So anyway, yeah, that was Severed Steel. The other one that I played is also phenomenal. So I played Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, the stupidest freaking name, MSMMM. It's like, goddamn. It's such a long title. Anyway, I actually like maybe enjoyed this more than the Spider-Man game, only because it's tighter. It's just more focused and it's shorter. And honestly, that's kind of what I wanted. Like it's like a 14, 15 hour experience. Wait, how many hours did I spend? I think I spent 15 and a half hours playing the game, which to me is like, that's my Goldilocks zone for a game. Both games are, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest superhero games ever made. Nothing even comes close to these two yet. I can't think of anything that comes close to them. Guardians, maybe. Guardians is probably close. But they're very different games. But other than that, it's like this stands way, way up there on the podium. This one follows Miles Morales. It clearly, I feel like it was probably started as an expansion, but then they realized like, fuck, this is a whole game. And it is a whole game. So they just kind of made it their own thing. I 100%ed it because I absolutely loved it. It's funny. For a long time, I was like, oh, I guess I'll wait for a PS5, right? And I'll go play these games. But then it was super on sale on PC, and my fucking laptop ran it at like max settings, and it looked fucking gorgeous. Like I was like, and honestly, on the little screen, like this nice refresh screen with the VSync on it, like it was beautiful. And I was up close to it, so I was like, it's kind of comparative to when I play on my big TV because I'm so close to the action. And it was just, it's really fucking fun. The story is good. It's not maybe the greatest story in the world, but I think I think Miles is super compelling, and they've made a really strong character out of him in this. It's fascinating because Miles went from being this like virtually unknown Spider-Man, right? Like I remember reading his comics back in the day with the Ultimate Spider-Man run. And it was fun, to Into the Spider-Verse coming, and now he is like maybe the like one of the most popular Spider-Man, right? Like he is like huge now. And so it's interesting because in this game, it's like I actually ended up, you can unlock the Spider-Verse suit at one point, which is also they did the dopest fucking thing on the planet with this. So when you get the Spider-Verse suit, they give you because you have like your Spider-Man suits have different like powers that you can like equip them on, like suit mods basically. So they give you a mod that says enter the Spider-Verse, and when you put it on, they've done it so that your Miles will actually run at the frame rate of Spider-Verse. So he looks like he's the comic book version of him, and the frame rate's different, and it's so cool. Like I didn't do it for
similar to what they did in the main game. I feel like there was one of those in the main game as well. Yeah,
something like that. It's so fucking cool. Like you're like, holy shit, this actually looks like Into the Spider-Verse. Now, obviously, you don't want to keep it on for too long because the reality is like the graphical style that they've created is really it's nice, but it doesn't fit into that world, right? In cutscenes, you look a little weird. But what's really smart about this is that if you just take the mod off, you're now just wearing the Spider-Verse suit, which is easily the best suit, because it's fucking dope looking. The fucking spray painted logo and everything, it looks awesome, and it'll have a slight comic book sheen on it, but like it fits in perfectly. So yeah, although I will say this. The new Peter Parker is fucking bullshit. I still am so angry that they changed the model. They changed the model from the original one.
I forgot about that. It's a different guy and a different voice and the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's the original guy. The voice is the same, and it's the guy who did the motion capture. So what they've done is essentially they've like replaced it with the actual dude's face, but he looks like a child, and it doesn't look like it fits anymore. The original one looks so much better. And I'm sorry. It looked so much better. It just did. He looks kind of washed out in this one. I didn't like it. But I'm excited for the next one with Venom. That's going to be pretty cool. And they tease that in this one as well. And actually, you know what's really neat about this one that I liked? It's an open world game, right? So there's all these collectible shit that you can do. But all of the collectibles, when you get them, it leads to a side quest, and it leads to like some kind of story resolution, which was actually really nice. So like to do all the side quests, you just get the collectibles, but the collectibles were also quite fun to get, and they all have little, information, and they give you tangible unlocks for the game. So I was like, it actually reminded me a lot of Shadow of Mordor's open world in a way, where it felt very like it's tight but really fun. And also, it's Spider-Man, right? The traversal is just so good. It's so good. It's so smooth. And so I used fast travel a little bit, but most of the time I'm just like, let's fucking swing through the streets, my dudes, because it's just really fun. And Miles plays differently enough from Peter to really feel like a new thing, because Miles has that camouflage ability, right? Where he can just completely camouflage himself. And that's something that Peter doesn't have. And so when it comes to stealth, it's actually Miles is more stealthy than Peter is, which I think is quite fun because you can cloak yourself and like jump in on a guy and like bash him in and then just zip back up to the ceiling and disappear. And I thought it was really cool. And they do a fun thing where I actually really prefer this. You know how like Batman has like detective vision? Well, like I think they were really smart and were just like, you know what? No. You're just going to hit a button. It'll highlight everybody. Look at them when you're in stealth, and you'll highlight all the characters. And then they're just going to be highlighted, and you'll have your normal vision. So you don't have to play the game in a disgusting, gross filter for the whole time. So anyway, I highly, highly recommend this. Recommend it on PC as well, because it's fantastic on PC. And I had so much fun with the game. And 100%ed it, and cutscenes are beautiful. Everything's great. If you're worried that it's going to just be a retread of Marvel Spider-Man, it's not. Though I would say, like, maybe give yourself a bit of a break between them if you're going to play them, like, kind of back to back. It does a really nice recap of Marvel's Spider-Man, so I was kind of happy to sort of play it now. And it advances Miles' story in a really great way. And also, it's a perfect time of year to play it because it's set around Christmas. So it was all wintry there, and I was just like, oh, it's a Christmas game. And Peter is gone for like 2 weeks, basically. He's on vacation. So Miles is the only Spider-Man. And it's all kind of about him becoming a Spider-Man, right? So, yeah, good game. That's all I got on that one. Have either of you played the Marvel Spider-Man?
The main one, yes. Morales, no. I very much had my fill on Spider-Man for the time being when I played the main ones and all the DLC, which were kind of just more of the main game.
Yeah.
It's one I plan to get back to eventually, but it's like pretty low priority.
Yeah, I hadn't bought myself a game since the summer, so I was like, fuck it. Let's get one for Christmas. Have you played it, Paula?
No, I haven't. I have watched my boyfriend playing it, but I don't think I can play it for very long if I do happen to play it because the web slinging makes me dizzy.
Right, that's fair. Oh. It's pretty wild web slinging too. They make you feel fast. Well, why don't we? A little bit too fast. Yeah, why don't we move on to retirements then? Yeah, I don't know. Who wants to jump in?
Why don't you roll on through? Because I'm interested in that one. Or actually, yeah.
Why not? Yeah, so I retired Halo Infinite, because this game is cowardly. I'd say actually in terms of the way that they've made it, and the reason I say that is because they created an open world Halo, and the open world Halo elements are very fun. It's actually quite enjoyable. Like they have that hook shot shit. Fuck, that thing's great. Zipping all over the place. You can unlock vehicles as you like unlock like forward operating bases and stuff in it. That's super fucking fun. It's really fun, like blasting through it. It feels like back in the day of like having the forge, like when I would play with my buddies and we would just like go on the sand level with the giant thing in the middle and we would just have a bunch of vehicles and we'd go fuck shit up and just have a good time. That's what it feels like in the main campaign. And that's awesome. And I really loved that. And I had a great time. Then you have to play the fucking missions, which are like, hey, why don't we go inside some fucking bland ass bullshit, alien ruined shit, which is such a thing in Halo that I fucking hate, and it's so boring. And so it's just run through room after room, kill the guys, whatever. And I'm at Escarim right now, which is like this boss, and I just don't give a shit. Like I'm about to beat him, but I was like in the middle of it, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I just liked the open world stuff. This part fucking sucks. And also, I don't understand the fucking story in Halo, and I've played them all multiple times. It's like something Spartans. He killed some aliens and then the war was over, but I guess it's not fucking over now. And what the fuck is with their obsession with Cortana? Like this fucking AI. Master Chief needs to get a life. Like, honest to God. He's like, and I get it, because like, and the worst part is that like Halo has such a fascinating story because he's basically an abused child, right? Who's been like forced to become this super soldier. And it's like they never decide to look into that. Like, let's never, ever do anything interesting with that story. Let's instead just make him be obsessed with an AI, which, like, you could argue is because of his, like, abuse or his trauma or whatever, right? Like, the fact that he has never really made any friends and all he wants to fight. But they never do anything with that. It's just Cortana and him all the time. And, like, in this one, again, you're, like, chasing after rogue Cortana, I guess, with, like, a new copy of Cortana. Oh, my eyes like roll back into the back of my fucking head because I'm just like, I don't care. And we're on a Halo again. What even is this? Like, what do these things even fucking do? Didn't they release the Flood? But I guess these ones don't release those. So what the fuck is going on? Jesus Christ. Anyway, I fucking, this series has jumped sharks so long ago. And the fact that they got rid of the couch co-op and it's just not a thing now, I was like, fuck you guys. I'm like, God damn it. Like, that's like the one fun thing. They didn't have it in Halo 5, and now they don't have it in this. And so I'm just like, what even is going on anymore? So I don't know. I'm very mixed on this. This is, my classic play it but don't complete it. That's what this is. I would recommend playing this game and playing through all the open world stuff. And then when it starts to force you into the just like mission shit, just quit. Just stop, because it's not fun anymore. You're just going to be going like, all right, let's just push up here and shoot all the guys and push up here and shoot all the... Like, it's just rinse and repeat for the rest of it. And then they throw like a bunch of just kind of bullshit, like tough enemies at you, right? Where like the difficulty just pops up, but you're like, it's not that much more difficult. It just means I have to manage shit a little more. Do you know what I mean? How like there's a difference between something being hard and versus relentless. And like, this is what it feels like, where it's like I got to a point in the game where it just feels relentless. And like, yeah, I'll probably die a fair bit, but it doesn't feel like I'm dying because it's like really hard to get through. It feels more like I'm dying just because there's so much shit going on that like I have to like I just have to be more like I kind of had to hide more, honestly. It's like not that as fun because like the fun of Halo is like running in like fucking shit up and blowing shit and shooting around, right? Like it's not as fun to be like, all right, I guess now I have to throw up my shield, sit here, camp out for a few minutes and pop off a few targets and then I can go have fun. You know what I mean? Like it's just that's not as enjoyable to me. It's more fun to be hook shotting into a dude, beating him in the face, or like having an interesting way of approaching a level versus in this one there's not that much interesting. It's like I'm just in a tunnel. So I don't know, that's my feelings on it. Again, I recommend trying it at least for the first bit because I actually think, and this is why I say it's sort of cowardly, because I think had they just stuck to it being a fully open world game and not like shoehorned you into these like really specific mission things, it would be like super good. I would put this game at like a 7 maybe right now. And had they, but like the open world experience was like fucking full on 9 for me. It was so much fun, and that's unusual because I'm not as big of an open world fan, but they really nailed it when they were doing that.
I mean, it's worth saying that this game had a pretty troubled development, to put it mildly. My pet theory, and I expect the pet theory of many people, is that actually they did intend this to be a fully open world sort of take on Halo, and then they needed to fucking ship something. So they decided, like, we just need a few missions, we need a campaign.
Yeah. See,
and you know, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah. If this ends up being the Pokemon Sword to Pokemon Scarlet sort of thing, I will be fine with that. Like if this is the if this
you
is
want it buggier,
pains,
you want Craig 2.0.
I don't give a fuck. But if it's like in terms of gameplay design, you know what I mean? I didn't find this game wasn't buggy at all though. It actually ran really nicely. But
Okay.
I don't know if this one had any issues with that. I think it's more the issue is just probably the crunch and shit that they had to deal with, I'm sure. But if they could lean more into that open worldness in the next Halo, I'll be very happy. But this one, it feels like an experiment where, like you said, they just didn't commit enough, which leaves kind of a sour taste in your mouth when you're playing. You know, you're just like, I can tell you were close. It's also the issue with Halo, right? Where like Halo is a multiplayer game, but also like it has such a history of strong campaigns, right? And so there is a split player base. Like I remember I tried some of the multiplayer in this and it was super fucking fun. It was great. But I don't give a fuck about multiplayer because I don't have the time for that. Anyway, that's me. So one of you two take it away.
Paula, jump on in. I want to know what caused you to see the light.
Well, I just got tired of Guardian Tales because of all the repetitive stuff that I have to go through like daily. And also I wasn't like really making a lot of progress on the story, and the story just kind of fell flat to me, like in the last chapter. So it was like, you know what? This game is still like first of all, it's still like on development. So even if I catch up to the story, I'll just have to wait for the story to be released. And that's not the kind of experience that I like out of my games. I like to have my story completed at release date and be able to play like from start to finish and all that stuff. The other things that I really didn't care about the remaining characters of the game. I just got the one character that I really like, so I have like one less thing to look forward to, like when I was trying to farm all the items. So I didn't have anything to farm towards, so all the grinding just felt like more grindy than usual. So it was just like, okay, I can see why people like it, but this is not my game, like at all. Like after I don't know how many hours I played, I just had to go with I'm done with this. I got my fill. That's the end of it. Like,
well, sometimes that's all that matters, right? You just got to get your fill, get yours.
Yeah, and I actually have time to. I actually now have the time to play other games. It's like, okay, this was like the one game I played on those like 5 to 10 minutes that I have between stuff. And why would I continue playing it if I do have time now to play other stuff? So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice.
And it's worth saying that the first of my 2 completions was probably, in a way, or first of my 2
Retirement?
retirements, I should say, rather. Yep, that's the one. It's probably very similar to sort of the rationale that you had there, Paolo. This specifically being Tokyo Jungle. I felt like I'd played one big, good survival run and I'd kind of seen it all. That might be wrong. It's prohibitively time consuming to find out. My single biggest bugbear, and I brought this up last time we spoke about the game, is that the campaign progress is contingent on you playing rounds of the endless mode. And I actually think that progression in those two should be entirely separate, really, or certainly the other way around, where completing the story unlocks things for endless. I found myself in a situation where I played, chapter 1 of the campaign, which is playing some sort of mission-based bits with the Pomeranian, and then it's like, cool, go play the endless bit somewhere, I guess. It's like, nah, I don't really want to do that. Like, I'd like to experience this game's story, find out, a bit more about the world and what's going on, and maybe when I feel like it, I'll go and play some more of the endless. And nah, you don't get any more story. Play some endless first. So I decided to put time on it. I may yet go and play the PS mobile version of Tokyo Jungle because it's grid based and it looks very interesting. And I've moved heaven and earth to make the thing function. So help me, I will be giving it a try. But I'm done with the PS3 version, I think, until and unless I find a way around that progression blocker. The other retirement is a little phone game called Zenge, I want to call it. It's like a sort of Tangram, sort of story, sort of puzzly thing. This is the latest installment of Rick Doesn't Finish puzzle game. So I got about halfway through and I was like, eh. So by no means a bad game, by no means a good game, very meh game in my view, and not one I particularly wanted to give any more time to. And speaking of not giving things any more time, let's not give any more time to our retirements. Let's focus on what we've been playing since we spoke last. Why don't you tell us a bit more about what you're playing, Paula? That looks like the shortest list. That's my only criteria.
Yeah, to be honest. Again, I'm trying to go for Pokédex completion and Pokemon Starlight, and I may go into competitive, so I have that tagged there. I currently have, I think, 240 out of the 400 Pokemon on the game, which is very nice. And I have to start trading for the Pokemon Violet exclusives, which still, Pokemon, why can't you just make the one game or have all the Pokemon? Oh, yeah, you have to sell more or make more money and stuff like that. Anyway, thankfully my boyfriend has Pokemon Violet, and I am on a Pokemon community at my university, so I have access to people that has been playing Pokemon Violet and has all the exclusives already. So I'm gonna go trade with them. The other game that I've been playing ever since last year is Potion Craft Alchemy Simulator. I am on the final chapter of the game, chapter 10, and I was wrong. The last thing you have to craft is not the Philosopher's Stone, which, by the way, is the thing that I'm crafting now. It is the, I guess, Philosopher's Salt, which is a compound that you get out of the Philosopher's Stone and a lot of other potions that you have to mix along the way. It's getting a little bit tiring. Like, I had to stop playing like for a week, maybe. Yeah, for a week while I was busy playing Pokemon Scarlet. Mainly because the formula, you get what I did there, gets a little bit tiring. And
I did get what you did there.
yeah, Alex was just shaking his head and Rick was unimpressed.
Same face.
Yeah. And well, I don't know if I said this before, but as you go through the chapters, you get more ingredients to to purchase, and you also get different clients will ask more of you, like, oh yeah, I need this potion, but I need it to be done with this special ingredient because it's my favorite ingredient ever. And also, yes, please, you shouldn't use more than 2 ingredients for this, even though you probably have to use 3. So those clients I say goodbye to, they are mad, but over each day, each in-game day, I'll make up enough points for that little blunder to not matter anymore. I think I unlocked all the potions that you can make, like all the different effects that you can make a potion out of. And my poor recipe book has more types on it than any like Greens and Broke book ever. And I think that just flew over your heads, but I'm not gonna explain it because that would continue. That would take a little bit too long. And yeah, it's been fun. It's getting a little bit tiring. I don't know if I'll complete it or retire it. So find more about it next week. Alex, go ahead.
Sure. So I've been playing a fair bit of stuff, although some things don't have a lot of progress. Like Citizen Sleeper, I haven't really touched much. It's next up on my list because I was playing some PC.
Been sleeping
games.
on it.
Yes, exactly. Sleeping on a little bit. Persona 5 Strikers. I've played a bit more. It's just when I was on vacation, I obviously wasn't using transit much, so I haven't played it as much, but I'm sure I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more soon. It's still really fun. It's just a solid game, you know? There's all there is to it. I am curious to see if I'm going to actually fully finish it, because I don't know if I'm going to if it's going to start to feel repetitive, which I think it might, because some of the jails you're going through, but we'll see. I picked Pokemon Prism back up, actually. The Game Boy Color kind of hack game. This game is really, really good. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's sort of the classic Pokemon styling where, like, you really have to consider your team makeup, and it's quite challenging. Like but not overly challenging, just like an appropriate amount, I would say. And it really forces you to like carefully go through your each area, make sure that you have like a really like well balanced team. You have to frequently make sure that you're like healing yourself up, have enough stuff with you. Like, it just feels like an appropriately challenging game with, of course, completely new areas. And like, I had to pull up, there's like a good walkthrough because I was like, shit, where am I in this game? And then I found out that I'm more than halfway through the game. So I'm actually coming nearish sort of end part, because I think like I don't have that many badges. There's a lot of badges, but from what I understand, it's a little bit, I think, like the second game, like Gold, Silver, and Crystal, where like after you get a certain amount, you then go through and get a whole bunch of others, but it's way quicker, right? Because this game comes after Pokemon Brown. I think it's like the continuation sort of deal of that game. And so, yeah, I really, really, really recommend this one. It's also super fun to be playing it on the original hardware, right? Like, you just feel like you've pulled this game out of time. And so I'm happy to be back at it again. This is actually one of those few retirements that did come back.
It does happen from time to time.
It does, right? And then the other game that I've been playing is my partner and I started playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition because she wanted to play some games with me again and talked about playing through Halo. But I was like, you know what? Why don't we try a different series that I've like actually, I think I played Gears of War maybe way back in the day, but I never beat it. So this is actually kind of new for me, and I haven't played the Ultimate Edition. So far, it's quite fun to play together. I think the third person perspective, like I'm really glad we're actually playing this one because it's a whole new style of game, but her skills from Halo have transferred over. Like, she's already much better at aiming. And what's really neat actually about Gears of War co-op is that each person gets to select their difficulty. So I'm on normal and then she's on the casual one. Which actually makes it feel more balanced because I have to shoot the enemies a lot more. than she does, but with like the way that Jumanji misses, it actually balances it out better so that she seems to be more on par with how I'm performing.
So difficulty is like a damage multiplier then?
I think it is, yeah, and I think it's also like how aggressive the enemy is going to go at the co-op player, or like how many shots.
Right, so it's like an aggro modifier as well.
I think I don't know
that's
how
an interesting
it works,
approach.
But
If so, yeah.
I really don't know how it works, but my assumption is that it's like what you're saying, where it's like you receive less damage from them and you give more damage. Like that's what I'm assuming. Must be some of the adjustments to the difficulty. Because they're certainly coming at me and I'm getting hit a lot. And so like, it's interesting because we will actually die sort of similar amounts now. Because again, I'm just playing at a slightly higher difficulty. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. One problem though that I ran into, this game fucking crashed hard on me at one section. So there's like this first part where you have to fight this berserker, and it's this like crazy character that's like coming at you. And you use this thing called like the Hammer of Dawn or something. And it's like a set. Anyway, it's like you have to like, you know, focus a beam on this thing, and then like satellites drop, you know, fucking bombs on someone. But it would just stop. It would freeze. And I had to redo this like 5 times before it would actually go through and work. And I don't know what's going on. I think this game is pretty buggy. Like even like looking up online, it sounds like it's had some issues. So that was really, really disappointing. That being said, we got through it and we kept playing and it's fine. We're in like the second act of the game, but it didn't bode super well. It looks very good, right? Because this is a remaster, or no, I would actually call this a remake because it's looks much better than the Xbox 360 game, which is, you know, they did well obviously at the time, but let's be honest, that's an old game now. It's still clearly from the shit brown era of games though, where, you know, the whole fucking everything is one color, brown. And you're just
palette? Like, what palette?
Exactly, right? Palette is earth tones. And everybody is like just these giant, like, me a man, me go break things. And you're like, oh my God. I'm looking forward to playing through. We're going to play through the series together, I think, slowly. And I look forward to when the lady character shows up and her proportions look much more natural than these dudes. They have no necks. They're just like heads. It's like, you know, fucking what's that dude in X-Men? You know, the guy who what's that
Colossus,
guy?
The big metal guy?
No, not Colossus. The other guy. Remember, he has that meme where he like runs through all the walls.
Juggernaut.
Juggernaut. Yes, that's it. Juggernaut. It looks
played by Vinnie Jones in the 2000 movies.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Right. Yeah. That's because what does he say? What is
I'm a Juggernaut, bitch.
I'm Juggernaut, bitch. Yeah, that's it. Oh, Paula, you've clearly not seen this, have you?
No, I haven't.
That was from The Last Stand.
You could give me a million guesses to how episode 100 would have gone, and this would not have been a part of them.
Oh, it's so funny. That's what we should call this episode. It's 100 episodes.
Literally, I'm typing it in now. Yeah.
Or I'm Juggernaut. Yeah. Oh God, it was so like they look like him though.
I just need a moment. Yeah. I just need a minute.
Oh, that's good.
While we're recovering, I'll find a clip for you, Paula.
Yeah, please do. Anyway, it's super silly game, but I genuinely like. I've had a pretty good time with it, and I'm looking forward to playing through the series because they definitely have spectacle to it. And really, I think the gaming world owes a shit ton to Gears of War for the cover system, and it's like the sort of third person dynamics. Because I gotta say, they nailed it at the first go. You know what I mean? Like it's like one of those things where you're just like, the cover system in this game is better than most cover systems that I've played even since. I don't know what wizardry they pulled, but I rarely can't get into cover. I can get out of cover quite easily. I'm like, they did a great job. I don't know. And some of that might be the remaster sort of stuff. Like maybe, you know, maybe they tweak some things, but it's really well done. And you can see where like Mass Effect gets its ideas, right? Like, I mean, maybe not so much the first game. The first game does have cover mechanics, obviously, and it uses that. but the later games in particular really like went hard into the cover mechanics, and it sort of dictates to me like a different era of gaming, you know, where this sort of cover third person shooters were like really bigger in that like the late aughts. Yeah. Anyway, good game. Rick, what are you playing? You're playing not quite as much, but a number of things.
I'm playing lots and lots of stuff, to be fair. So I think 5 games again in total.
Yeah, I
first of
guess
those
for
is
your historical plays, sometimes you have like 10.
Yeah, and to be fair, at the moment, and we'll probably start with this one actually, the sort of ongoing, I swear to God, I am still playing this, is twofold. First of those is Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. I want to love this game. There's certain aspects of this game I do love. It's so old. It shows its age. Like, every old game I play now, since I played Super Metroid, is sort of framed by the question, does this hold up? Because I've experienced a game that absolutely can and did and does from like the early 90s. And this is like a late 90s game. And its menus kind of chug, and the design isn't really made with people friendliness and usability in mind. And, you know, again, that's partly a product of its time, but it didn't have to be that way. At the moment, I'm kind of battling through it. I don't know if I will continue to battle through it. We will see. The second one is FF7 Remake, and that's, you know, no criticism of that game. It's just a case of I'm not getting a lot of time just to sit down in front of my TV and play PS4, just because of sort of the way my life is right now and things that I've got going on. I'm not getting a lot of TV time where it's just me and the controller. So that's where that is. When I've played it, it's 9.5 out of 10 so far. Like, I really am enjoying it, in spite of, you know, you can see a lot of the invisible walls, proverbially. Like, you can tell that you're being channeled in certain directions, and there is a minor frustration to that, but the gameplay itself is great. It looks phenomenal for a PS4 game, and I am really interested to see where they take the divergences in story. Citizen Sleeper, I've played a fair bit more of. Big fan of this game. Really, really enjoying it. The art is fantastic. The story has opened up way more quickly than I expected it would. There's lots of different threads and lots of different directions. I get the sense it's a kind of story that you can't do everything in one run, which I'm totally cool with. I actually think that really works well for a game like this, which is ultimately like a visual novel crossed with a resource management sim. Like, you get so many dice a day. There are far too many people that want your time and your efforts and your whatever else. And you have to pick your battles. And I think this game does a really good job of minimizing the amount of decisions you have to make and maximizing their importance to you and the story that it's telling. Really, really good. My only sort of slight negative is that I wish I could play it portably more. The Xbox Cloud gaming version of it works really well, but the text isn't sized appropriately. It's not the most comfortable experience. I expect trying to play it on Switch would have been very, very similar. But it is really a game that you sort of have to sit down in front of a big monitor for. That's certainly been my experience of it. 2 new games, both Switch games. First of those is Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars. So this is the first of 3 Yoko Taro helmed card-based traditional RPGs. And it is a traditional RPG. There's actually not that much so far that is unique apart from the visuals and the aesthetic and the fact that, and this sounds trite to say, but it is important, everything is cards. The world map, you navigate. It sounds stupid, right? Voice of Cards, yeah, sure, but like, I can't emphasize enough, all of it. All cards, menu options, cards, character portraits, cards, world tiles, cards, items in your inventory, cards. It's all cards.
It's cards all the way down.
It always has been. It's good though. The RPG underlying seems really strong. I had a blast with the demo. and it went on like a pretty healthy sale over Christmas. So I jumped on it. I'm only maybe half an hour in, so still early doors, but I like something it does that Crimson Shroud did quite similarly as well, which is sort of channel the narrator. So the narrator is a very specific character. There's a degree of fourth wall breaking in the fact that he's like, I'm here, I'm important, I'm telling you how this story goes. Wouldn't recommend you turning the audio off, but subtitles are there. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. Which is pretty cool. And what little I've played of the combat, strong, me likey. Yeah, watch this space. And then the second one, also go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was actually like, I've been looking at this one for a while because you know me like cards. So like I've seen it and it's been on my radar. So I'll be interested to see how it holds up for you.
Yeah, and I think Yoko Taro being involved is a big part. The art is beautiful, another big part. And yeah, it was 40% off over Christmas. It's not a game that's often been on sale, and it was like the biggest sale it had ever had. And it's one I'd been keeping an eye on for a while, again, having played and really enjoyed the demo. So I decided to take the plunge. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. It doesn't seem massively long as well. Cute little website called How Long to Beat tells you how long games have taken for members of that community to beat. Don't know if you guys have heard of it. Should definitely check it out. Has that around about sort of the 14 to 20 hour mark from memory, which you guys all know me. I like a shorter, somewhat more streamlined RPG, and this sure looks like it. So yeah, so far me like it a lot, and we'll see how it holds up. Last game, and one that gives me another opportunity to sort of dunk on Like No Other a bit more, because it sort of shows how that can be done better. Welcome to Elk. So this is a sort of adventure, sort of point and click narrative-y game based on real life experiences of people sort of living in Scandinavia, as I understand it. And what they've done is they've taken a load of sort of little anecdotes and stories from like people who lived in little sort of small island towns and stuff, and made a narrative and a game out of them by taking those core stories, a degree of artistic license, putting it all together. And the game, I haven't got far enough to see any of them yet, but the game includes sort of video recordings of the original people telling their stories in their native language with subtitles translating it through. I think it's a really cool concept, which is why I jumped on it and why I'm giving it a go. A really interesting development of the idea of knowledge passed down orally. So I like the idea there. Unlike Like No Other, it highlights the bits that you can interact with. And when you press a button next to something that's not interactable, the character doesn't just sort of shrug his shoulders and go, which literally happened probably more than half of my playthrough on Like No Other, was me trying to interact with things and it going, and it's so smug about it as well. And it just does a silly run. In Welcome to Elk, anything you can interact with is colorized. And it's a stylistic choice. The rest of the scenery is like an uncolored in sort of coloring book sort of thing. Works really well. Very cool. Again, very, very early days, but I like the vibe. I like the sort of a little bit more laid back, just, come and vibe and sort of see what we've got to share kind of experience of it. I think it's a pretty cool setup. I'm very excited to play more. That's probably the shortest of the completions on my list. So I expect, if nothing else, that's probably what I'll have finished before we discuss these games next. Yeah, one other thing with Like No Other, just gone on the topic of the noises. This game boasts about having voice acting. I don't know why, because half the voice acting is various grunts or inversions on. This is useless to me. So cool. Why did you voice that? Like, if you want to be if you want to do that, have something interesting to tell me. Have some funny one. Like, I hated Like No Other. I don't know if that's coming across. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining that. I really utterly disliked almost everything about that game.
Clearly.
Okay, I'm releasing it. I'm letting it go so that we can focus on 100 episodes of the How Long to Beat podcast.
Holy
Did either
shit.
of you think when we started this in, what was it, October 2020?
October 2020, yeah, it was pandemic time.
Yeah, just after the Eat Out to Help Out window for any of my fellow Brits. Yeah, it's been like 2.5 years, more than 100 recordings because we've done lots of New Game Plus, but 100 episodes. First of all, well done us, because this doesn't happen by accident. Like, it's Alex and Paula messaging me because I've fallen asleep. It's us hassling each other for edits. It's like the mother of all efforts to coordinate ourselves and guests and others. Like, it's been wonderful and I've enjoyed every minute, and it's fun to just talk about what we've been playing and, put voices of the community to ourselves and to others. But there is a degree of work to it, and I think credit to us for sticking with it for 2.5 years. First of all,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, first thing I want to ask is what your guys' favorite memories are of this, because I've got a particular one in mind.
Yeah, I think most of my favorite memories are in general, like, and I guess it makes sense. It's a lot of like the sort of special things we've got to do. Like, I think one of the most surprising moments for me was having Keith on, because I had no idea what that was going to be like. And that just like, he just like reached out, and then it ended up being like this really fun conversation, which I think even he was surprised by, because he was like, I'm gonna stick around, I guess, because you know what I mean. Like, he doesn't know what to expect when he comes in. Like, what are we gonna talk about? He's like, oh, we're just talking about everything. Okay, like, and like, because it started with him being like, you guys played my game, you know what I mean? Like, because like, especially this day and age, right? It's like one of those things where it's like, I didn't know people were still playing that. Like, he's got like a Google alert for it, and it was like, holy shit, you played it, okay. So like, and like doing the multiverse stuff like that, I thought that was really fun. Like, getting to like have like, I just think that was like a really unique experience to get to like, to get to do like a post-mortem on their game with them. Like, I thought that was a really neat, because I also don't think a lot of people get the chance to do that. Like, even developer wise, you know what I mean? Like, I get the sense that a lot of developers, they might talk about their games a little bit with each other, but like having, like, obviously Paolo was not necessarily impartial, but like, I think Rick and I, at least too, like, we're pretty impartial on it, right? So like, for us, it's a chance to just kind of come through and like ask them, like, why'd you do this? What was this? What's going on there? And then like, I enjoyed getting the sort of background behind things of like how much they had like tested this or tested that or done this or done that, right? And so like, we always assume that when we play games, when we talk about games, like, it's like, oh, I'm sure developers, but then having them to be able to just be like, no, this is literally what we did, and like, this is why, and here were the struggles we went through on this, and here is that. And so I felt like it was like a nice, it was a long as hell, but super fun, at least on my end.
While it was so fresh as well, I think it in the week after it's come out, they're still processing the reviews. I mean, I remember that the Escapist one had sort of cut deep, but then by contrast, there was one that they could see, because someone had written about it, that they connected everything that they wanted to say. Someone had connected with that, and I suppose to get to dig into all that fresh. You're right, not a lot of people get to do that on either side of the fence, so that was super cool. What about you, Paula?
I'm trying to think, because I wasn't expecting this question right now, but I have to say, whenever we have someone from the community, or like any developer like Cecilia Richards or Keith, or again, a random Vicente, I think having someone else besides just us three. Sorry, I cannot English. I'm kind of sleepy. Takes things up, and sometimes, like, one of my favorite recordings has to be the Cecilia Richards one, because we had to try like so many times, but yet we pulled through. And I think like the fact that we failed I think 2 recordings made things like a lot more like it made the space for us to be like, I guess, more friendly, or like talk jokingly about the failed recordings, and then like have a more like a less tense conversation, I guess, which I really like, and I think Cecilia appreciated in a way too.
That episode for sure was like the best and worst experience doing this podcast simultaneously, because I was ready to tear my hair out. But then you're right, by the time we got to the end of it, like, it was such a unique experience, and we built some rapport over that. But also, more importantly, like, I suppose going back to sort of what we said about Vicenta, having read that review that like someone got it all. It was interesting, sort of feeling like we were on the other side, and she's like, "You guys get it," and it was nice to connect with a creator whose games have touched certainly me and you guys as well, and be able to sort of talk around them and about them and bring things up that maybe they hadn't thought of. I think what we probably take for granted is how much fun the stuff around that has been. Because, like, the guest episodes have been great, but like, I don't know about you guys. I feel like I formed genuine friendships doing this for 2.5 years. Like,
Yeah.
I missed
Every
you
week
guys
just
last
smash
few
around.
weeks. We were on vacation.
Exactly.
We had to hang out.
we do cute little secret Santas. We have little in jokes. Like, it's been a lot of fun, and it's nice to invite the community into that as well, and see people message us back on Discord about things that have come up on the podcast, and also bring people's attention to other games. I think it's nice to share things that you like, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's just a normal human thing. Like, something was good, you want other people to experience it as well. Like, certified best game ever, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which besides the meme is a really, really excellent game.
Yes,
and
just
it's
don't
really
play it in a
gratifying.
heat wave.
It's on Switch now. No excuse.
Exactly.
Play it in the comfort of your own fridge.
Yes. Play it in the bath. Just keep it over the side of the bath. Don't kill yourself.
Like, I know for a fact that 4 or 5 people who might never have come across that game tried it because I kept banging that drum.
Yeah.
But also, like, I got the experience of having been that game sort of champion within the little community. 3 or 4 people playing it, including the 2 of you, and getting to relive that game through them living that mystery for the first time. And there's something so raw and natural about that process. And I think, that it's things like that that probably stick the most for me, whether it's with a developer, whether it's with a community member. This has been a platform out of probably one of the most isolating experiences of anyone's lives who's lived through this period, to have built some different connections and done it that way, and had a real sort of positive come out of it. I think that's been wonderful for me.
I agree. And I mean, it's very like, we're community led, right? Like, that's the whole thing on this. Like, we're just 3 folks just doing this kind of for fun, right? And so
we're not angling for a Patreon and like a sponsorship deal and merch. And
I know, right? It's wild.
we need to have a talk about this. I think we're
but I think that's part of the
getting
fun,
there, I
right?
think.
It's like, like we have this small, like I don't know, it's not that small. Like, I mean, we have, when we look at our weekly sort of listens, it's around the 100 area with like all the kind of platforms come through, which is really lovely, and there's a core group who like listen, and again, with a podcast, the nice thing with our podcast too is you can kind of jump in anywhere you want, right? Like, it's not like you have to listen every single week. I mean, it's great if you do, thank you. But like, you can come and go as you please. And like, I think what has been fun is like, in a lot of ways too, something that I like about the podcast is that I feel like we can, like with the events that are going on, like, we've been trying to pull in Game of the Month. Oh, which, by the way, since I don't think did we talk about the Game of the Month this month? Because I don't think
that's ironic.
We didn't have
that's beautiful.
Yeah, because we didn't have a recording. We haven't had a recording for a while from this month. But hey, this is coming out in January, so it's Live Alive, which both Rick and I absolutely loved and played. So everybody get on that game because it's good shit.
Yes.
But like, adding this stuff in, like the Itchmas stuff, which, hint, hint, Itchmas and Fantasy Critic League will probably have maybe something.
Watch this space.
Yeah. But like, getting to do things like that with like community initiatives where we can just kind of like bring people in, give them a chance to talk about it, and like add just a little bit of support to that is like really fun, and like, this was birthed out of, at least for me, like coming into the podcast, it was like I was doing the blog stuff, which was like super fun, and I sort of fell off that obviously because now I talk about it every week. But also, that was never going to be sustainable because that was during the pandemic when I had a lot of time to write. And actually, that maybe is the craziest thing, is that like, this has maintained itself out of the pandemic. Because like, listen, I'm busy as fuck right now. We all are. But somehow we've managed to like maintain and like hold in. Now, I will admit, like, community apologies, we haven't had as many guests, and that's mostly, I think, because we have become so busy that organizing outside people is challenging as hell.
Because we already schedule around 3 continents.
Yes.
3 different time zones.
I know, 3
Yep.
continents and 3 time zones that are nowhere near each other. Like, they're very separated. I guess Paula and I are sort of close-ish in terms of our time difference, but it's still a fairly significant time difference. And yet it still works. And our guests are always at different time zones, I find. Like, maybe once we've had someone in the same time zone, which I think, or twice, I guess. I guess the guys from Chile, obviously. And then when we had
Now
Almar,
from Blighty, yeah.
But yeah, and I mean the fact that we've had like Everdread and Tiamat and like Abatage and Dude, like all these like just like we've had so many people from the community on, and it feels sort of fun for us because we get to see them all, and it's like, oh, we meet them. Though we still didn't get to see Everdread yet. That's okay.
Not yet. That's still on the list.
We spoke with him though, and it was really fun to get to talk with him and see kind of how it goes. And the fact that, you know, even with like, you know, Ziff Davis, you know, kind of buying through How Long to Beat, they're just like, you guys do your thing. Like, we're like, we're all good, man. Have fun. And like, I think that's pretty cool too, that they've just sort of been like, yeah, go to town. We don't care. Have a good time.
Yep.
And again, I think that's probably because we're not some kind of massive, huge podcast that would probably at that point there you go. But I also think though that's part of the, I would hope, I don't know, listeners, you can tell us, I think part of the appeal of our podcast is that we're kind of a little bit smaller and we talk about stuff that's not necessarily like the hit game this week, which I think also gives the podcast a little more lasting potential because we're just talking about the games we're playing, which I think we all kind of span a really huge kind of gamut of games in general.
For sure.
And I feel like I've played so many different games than I would have just through this podcast and through being exposed to games that you're both playing. And it's just kind of an opportunity to, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that many people in my life who play games a lot that I can like even just sort of chat about it with. I know, Paula, maybe you're a little different because your partner plays a bunch of games too. So, and you're kind of in game development.
Yeah, like in real life, I don't think like I have a lot of people to talk about games besides my boyfriend, maybe Aaron, but Aaron's more like, I guess, manga and anime enthusiast rather than a video game enthusiast.
That's true, yeah.
So on that side, I'm kind of like out of luck. I am involved in several communities like the Otome community over on Twitter, but that is not in real life. But still, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't think I would ever like play things like. I mean, 13 Sentinels was on my radar, but I don't think I would have played it like as soon as I did, if not for the podcast. And I would probably be still like prioritizing like all the Otomes and only be playing Otome for the rest of my life if it wasn't for the podcast, to be honest. Because let's get real, those Otomes are like getting released at an incredible speed, and I literally cannot keep up. And even though I cannot keep up, I'm still having a lot of fun with games that I probably wouldn't even like known about if not for the podcast, like Ghost Trick, 13 Sentinels, or like the Rusty Lake games, which by the way, in the coming weeks we'll see more of those.
I kind of forgot that you didn't know about Ghost Trick, 'cause that was such a you game. That was such a
neither of
baffling
us did.
discovery. Yeah. Mental.
Actually, yeah, that is kind of wild.
Yeah. And because of you, also a group of friends are now playing Ghost Trick because I recommended it to them. So the chain continues. So.
Wagwan.
See, it just keeps going. And it's... Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All I was going to say is just like, I think it's neat too that the podcast, we hit on a format pretty quickly and it just kind of stuck. Like, even when you look at like the old agendas, it's like second or third episode, we basically had it down. We did end up cutting out like guest questions because we realized in the end that like, we have too many episodes. There's not that many questions to ask. Like, you know what I mean?
Not enough time in which to ask them. Like, we started this and we were like, we want a tight 90, and consistently it's 2 hour episode.
Yeah, I mean, we hit between, it's usually an hour 30 to 2 hours. Like, that's basically our time range. But I think these days we're more at the like 145, 150. That's like the most common. Like this episode's probably going to hit like 150. Actually, maybe less.
For sure.
I don't know, we'll see. We're nearing it. But yeah, and what's ended up happening is that some guest questions have just turned into topics, right? Like it's just shit that we talk about now, which I don't know. I think is really fun. And like the new game plus stuff has been really fun. And hell, we did a fucking playthrough of a game, right? Which would be fun to do more of those, but it's tough to get the time
Of
down.
course, we did Shredder's Revenge together, didn't we?
But I also know how to record better now.
We need more playthroughs.
Yeah,
we do need to do more of those little things. There's got to be more little. To be fair, Dungeons of Mystara, I feel like is on your wish list, Alex. I don't know.
Well, I had it on there because I think we had talked about playing that at some point. I mean, whatever. There's tons of shit we could do. We have so many Game Pass games we could play. We all have it now.
Oh God, yeah, we do. The worst thing is, like, I'm probably going to end up keeping it. I'm going to be like,
I knew it.
I knew it.
But you know what? I don't even want to razz you on this because it's a good thing. It's fun. It's a good time.
I'm telling myself that it's to play indies that I wouldn't have otherwise bought just in the launch window.
But that's honestly
let them get
what
their cut from Daddy Microsoft and then like crack on as I normally do.
Yeah.
I won't go into specifics, but basically I've got a setup where probably come later this year I can get it for about £5 a month, like the ultimate setup.
Then you need it.
So I feel like at that price it's hard not to.
Yeah. Well, and I'm in
That's
same
where
boat,
we're at.
right? Like people got it to me as gifts, and so I'm good and think until next year or something like that. I don't know. I don't have to pay for it for a while, so yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's what I do with it, and like I play at least one game a month. Like I definitely make it back in terms of like money. Like I've played so much Game Pass games. It's just it's
make it make sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think that's kind of. Do you anything else for reflections on the pod? Where we think we're going next? I don't know.
I suppose one thing to throw out, because it feels wrong not to. Obviously, this is the second iteration of the podcast.
Yeah.
This is off the back of like the first effort, which I was also involved in. But I think it's worth sort of recognizing Kerfmurph, whose idea this originally was, and Ultimate Zombie Toast. Neither of them particularly active in the community anymore, but both like absolutely important to this. One hitting the ground as quickly as it did, because I think we did learn very quickly what did and didn't work from that.
Yeah.
Particularly being able to rotate editing, because that editing was one of the problems we had the first time round, and us all being able to do it and like share that responsibility has been a massive help.
Yeah.
But also, we were able to see what did work and iterate, and I think it's worth recognizing that was something that was really useful to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, long may this continue, I suppose. I don't know. I've got anything else to add. I think I gushed a little bit at the appropriate moment, and
yeah, I don't know.
We're back to where we're at.
Yeah, we've been consistent, I mean, we've had so many episodes at this point that it's just like we've got it. I mean, I think what we did, even actually just right now, we gave ourselves a bit of a break. So we were like, the people probably know we hadn't missed a week until like last week, and I think we realized like it's okay. It's okay to have a holiday week. We're a volunteer.
And also I was like dead to the world for like a week and a half. I don't think I responded to messages from like the 27th until maybe 2 days ago at the time of recording.
That's fine. Like it's vacation. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where I'm just like, we're a volunteer podcast. We should take some time off. I literally take off time for work. But again, I think it's because we like this so much. But like, this is one of those things. And especially as life's starting to get a little bit busier for us, there might be weeks here or there, like on big sort of holiday weeks, because we mostly match up. Obviously our summer and winter breaks don't quite match up because you clearly have different ones, Paula. Southern versus Northern Hemisphere, right? But I don't know. I think like in general we've been very good on being consistent with that. So anyway, too many more episodes.
Too many more episodes. And what were your favorite, most exciting, surprising, interesting aspects of the past 2.5 years? Let us know in the comment section down below the like button. Right, should we jump on to
How long to beat the game? Nice.
Paula, where were you? Twice now. God.
We never did.
I know, we never do it together.
It's fine, I'm messing. But it is, I believe, your week to host, absolutely.
Yes.
So what are me and Alex guessing?
So the current standings is Rick at 11, me at 7, and Paula at 4. And I think we're in the second round of this, basically, right?
Yes, I mean I don't think
Last
Paula
round.
started Citizen Sleeper. I know you aren't far in. I'm not far in. We've probably got time for the third set of game weeks.
Probably, yeah.
Potentially. It depends because we've got other things on the horizon, so that may throw timing, but we'll see. So what game are we guessing the time that it takes to complete?
Okay, let me check.
And all types of completions.
And also bonus questions at the dealer's discretion.
Yeah, I'm trying to line into something interesting that I have played or like not in recent memory.
Nice. I also have to say I like.
Okay,
Oh, go ahead, Paula.
I got it. Tales of Vesperia.
Oh, I love that game.
I have never played it.
It's a good game.
Is that the one where
He's the black hair.
Oh, I've never played it, but I feel like a couple of the characters from it are in Project Crosszone.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Is that the one where it's got the Tales of character with like the really long black hair?
Yeah.
No, the one
and the princess in like the white outfit that looks like an upside down flower.
Sorry.
Is this the
sorry.
definitive edition or the normal? Are they different?
I don't know. This says on the How Long to Wait side, it's the Xbox 360 version, I think.
Okay.
Or at least like
that'd be the
from that
original
time.
then in that case.
The original,
I don't think the definitive actually added anything. I think it just like redid some graphical stuff. Okay, I've got my times in. What's our bonus thing?
Let me check real quick.
I don't think I ever finished this. I very rarely finish Tales games. Like I finished Tales of Symphonia, and I finished the new Tales game, which actually was really fun. I liked that one a lot. What was that one called? Tales of Arise. Yeah, that was a good game.
I'm looking forward to eventually, maybe one day, getting around to playing Arise.
Okay, let's go with this. How many people has rated this game as a 10 out of 10?
Oh,
ooh,
that's interesting. How many have rated it a 10 out of 10? I know it was a good game, but I don't remember it being that good. Because in terms of what I remember, like when it comes to like these games in general, I feel like this one was viewed as like decent, but not like the best. So I'm gonna go. Yeah.
My stuff's all in.
I'm all in as well. I'm all in.
Okay, so for main story, Alex has said 45 hours, and on the other corner of the ring, Rick has said 50 hours. The closest to the correct answer is Rick, as the game main story is 51 hours long.
Oh, wow, it's 51 hours. Okay, damn.
For the main plus size or main plus extras, however you want to call it, Alex has said 65 hours, and Rick has said 75 hours. This might be a clean sweep for Rick, as he has once again nailed it, since main plus extras is 73 hours.
Jesus Christ. Wow, you're close. Okay. I didn't think it was that long.
For 100%, Alex has said 125 hours, and Rick has said 110 hours.
I reckon I'm
Both of you are very far behind, like the actual time, because the actual time is 170 hours.
Oh, okay.
Well,
nevertheless, Alex gets a point.
I really didn't think it was that long. That's fucked.
Oh, wow. I knew they were long, but I didn't think the 100% time would be quite that bad.
Yeah, that's absurdly long.
For the final couple of points, the bonus round, Alex has said that 33 people has rated on How Long to Beat the game as a 10 out of 10. While Rick says 60 people has rated this game as a 10 out of 10. Rick is almost right on the money as the amount of people that has rated the game as a 10 out of 10 on the How Long to Beat side is 57.
Oh,
Wow.
I thought I'd undershot. My thinking was it's a 360 game. They didn't have many JRPGs.
Yeah, but
Well, like,
it's not a 10 out of 10 game. Like, I'm sorry. The
I've
people who
never played
rated
it. I
that,
don't know.
it's not a
But
good,
like,
it's good,
I
but
figured
it's
it'd
not
be
that
a
good.
biggish number.
I'm just gonna say that the amount of people that has played the game on Xbox 360 or has stated it as such is 261 people,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah.
Crikey.
And I mean, obviously,
Oh,
that's,
hang on.
So
Versus
there's still
that's
like a
just
lot
how
of
long
love
to
for
beat
the game.
people, but-
It's worth saying versus 24 on PS3.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was a 360 heavy audience, which is based on the fact that the picture Paula said had 360. That was the rationale.
Well, I remember this
I would-
game getting a strong push on 360 as well, like marketing wise.
They would have, because it's like, we finally have a JRPG. Sick.
Yeah.
I mean, the re-release is completely the other way. There's like 31 on Xbox One, 7 on Series SX, and then like 250 odd on Switch, 150 odd each on PC and PS4. Like, it will have, like you say, if it got a big push on Xbox 360, that probably is just at the core of it.
Yeah, I think at this point, like, because now, Rick, you just had a clean sweep, basically. Well, you missed one. But at this point, it's not really possible for either of us to catch up, even if we do 3 rounds. So probably next week would be just who gets second place, and then we can restart.
Oh, crikey, yeah, it is a bit of a gap. Shit.
It's a big gap. You just can't get back from that, right? Like, it's 15-8-4. Like, if I had a clean sweep next week, which I probably won't, I'd be at 13.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. It's not that. I feel like it's slightly rare for us to get clean sweeps.
Yeah, it's unusual.
Yeah. Nice.
Even if you get 4-1, it'll be at 12. Like, it's not insurmountable.
Yeah,
Potentially.
but
We'll see how we go next time.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go next
it's
time.
insurmountable for Paula, which that's not as fun, right? If it's just the two of us competing.
Yeah, I'll take the point.
It's okay. But maybe, Paula, you'll clean sweep next week, and then you'll take second place.
That would make it
Maybe.
interesting.
It's not impossible. It's happened to me before. I remember once I had a lead, and then you came in and grabbed the second. Like I said, anything can happen in How Long to Beat the Game. Well, almost anything. Many things can happen in How Long to Beat the Game.
That's what makes it so magical.
Exactly. Well, fuck, there we go. That's another 100 episodes in the bag. Well, that is 100 episodes in the bag. Get ready for some special episodes this month, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.